Listen.
Hey, welcome to another week of content from Sound Voices. Today I want to talk to you about the energy of your words and what the choice of your words can do to the flow of energy or the flow of a discussion. I'm only going to focus on two particular phrases, I know and but. So stay tuned and we're going to dive a little deeper into what those two statements do when you use them in conversation.
1, 2, 3. Listen.
So I'm sure you've heard a lot of people say that there's power and energy in the words that we use. So how do we understand what that does and the impact that that has on the conversations or the way that we use our language? So today I just want to focus on how we use but and how, when it's appropriate to use it and the impact that it has when it's not used appropriately, and also the phrase I know, which I have to tell you, I hear my 9-year-old saying all the time. I know, I know, I know. So what does that do when we use it as adults in a conversation or after we've asked a question or in response to something that someone is trying to share with us? So let's start with but. There's been a lot of people talking about this. I've been harping on about the use of but and how it is completely inappropriately used so often. And most often when it's used when someone's trying to apologize. So if you hear someone go, I'm really sorry, but, does that sound sincere? Or does it sound like they're about to tell you why they're actually not really sorry? So in this use, the word but negates what was previously said. So if I say, I'm sorry, but, oh, I totally understand, but. We can totally do it that way, but. Or I see your point of view, but. So why does it stop? So but is an exclusive term. It excludes what's previously been said. It's an and or situation, same with however. So when we use the word but after trying to agree with someone or connect with someone, it actually severs that connection. The but completely makes us separate again. And what we're trying to do is create, well, in the situation that I'm talking about today, last week I talked about connection. So this week I'm talking about how to improve the way that we connect using our language. But, I'll come back to that. So when we use the word but, after we try to connect with someone, it automatically disconnects from that person. That's why often people go, I don't feel better after you've apologized when you said, I'm sorry you're upset, but I really didn't mean it. It's like, well, so you didn't mean it, which means you're not sorry because you didn't mean it. A different way to say that would simply be to replace the but with and. And is inclusive and connects the two statements together. It feels a bit weird when you do it at first, and then it becomes automatic. So for instance, if I said, oh, I'm so sorry you're hurt, and I really didn't mean it, they exist together. They're not exclusive. They don't separate each other. The same with saying, I hear what you're saying, and I'd like to add, rather than, but I'd like to add, because then I'm an individual and you're an individual and it separates us. One of the many ways I hear this, particularly in business meetings, is when people say, I don't mean to interrupt, but, well, that's exactly what you're doing. You've just stated what you're doing. I don't mean to interrupt, but you have interrupted. Or when I hear someone say, I hear what you're saying, but, it just deletes the comment you've said and it deletes that connection. So you can say, I'm sorry, I'm about to interrupt. I really want to add something. Or I'm about to interrupt because I'm so excited about what you're saying. Is it okay if I add something? So it's recognizing the action that you're taking as well as including the people who are still having the conversation. So have a think about how often you use the term but and try using and instead, just as an exercise. So let's talk about when but is appropriate. Often when you're weighing up options, so I'd really love to go to Bermuda, but we're still really stuck because of lockdown, and also I don't really have the budget. So when you're looking at three distinct things that are separate, but is the absolute appropriate thing to use. Again, have a think about the intention and what it is you're trying to achieve, when it's useful and when it's not useful. And play with using and. So now I want to move on to I know. in response to something that someone is sharing. So I'm going to use my 9-year-old as an example because it's fresh in my mind and he does it all the time. Often my son will ask me a question and I'll start to explain the answer and he'll say, I know. And I say, then why did you ask the question? Because what I know does, similarly to but, it's a disconnection form of language. And so if someone's sharing something with you and you go, I know, it completely devalues their input into the conversation. So if you're having a discussion with someone and you may realize that you do it too. If someone's saying to you, oh, there's this amazing restaurant in Auckland, it's got the best food. Oh, I know. There's nowhere else for the conversation to go because you already know everything. So think about if you use it. I'm sometimes a victim of using it, and I definitely know that I do it back to my son, which is probably where I got it from in the first place. So this is all I want you to be doing with this information is just becoming aware of your language and starting to be conscious about the choices you're making when you're communicating. So for instance, if I've been doing some work on personal development and obviously becoming more aware of what I'm thinking and saying. And I was talking to a good friend of mine and I was pulling her up on the fact that she can sometimes say, I know. She's probably going to watch this and go, oh, I didn't say who it was. And so when we're talking and I'll reflect something back and she will say, I know. I don't need to say anything anymore because she is a wonderful human being and is becoming aware of this. And what I explained to her is that it's an energetic feeling. As the person on the receiving end of someone saying, I know, then I have nothing to add. I have no value. And what we want to be doing from interactions with people or as we're learning new things is to, again, create language that is inclusive. And so what I talk to my son about specifically is when he says, I know, I say, can you try saying, oh, I see that. Oh, I agree. I think that too, because then you're recognizing that I have something to add and you also are recognizing that there's information that you bring to the table that is valuable too. So it's moving towards inclusive language. So when you use I know in response to something that someone tells you, you're saying that nothing they bring to the conversation is adding any value because you already know everything. Think about that the next time you're talking to someone or the next time someone says that to you. And think about how that makes you feel energetically. So probably not a good idea to rebut them and say, I watched this video and it means blah, blah, blah. Rather, be aware of what it feels like to you. Be aware of if it does, it may not. You may be totally fine with that. This is my experience and the things that I've learned over my years in communication, marketing and connection. So start to become aware of the impact that words have, the impact someone using but on something that they're saying to you, or the impact someone has when they say, I know. Because the more subtle awareness you can develop within your own awareness, talking about connection last week, remember connection starts with self, the more awareness you can bring to the impact that language has on you, then the more consciously you will start to choose the language that you use. And know that the impact that you're having on communication is inclusive and collaborative and moving the conversation forward rather than separating and stagnating and blocking energy. So think about the words that you use. So the exercise that I've got for you this week is to replace but all the time, just for the hell of it. Replace but with and see how that feels. It will feel weird. It will feel odd. Changing our patterns is always going to feel odd. And using and doesn't cost you anything. So give it a go. And the same with I know. Rather than saying I know, use I agree. I see that too. Or ask another question to bring out more information from the conversation. Hope this has been an interesting session for you today. Again, please comment below on the language and the power of language that you've encountered. And I'd love to know how you go after you've tried replacing but with and using different language for I know. I'd love to hear the stories. Sign up on our website because we are going to be building some courses around connection and performance skills. And also join us on our Facebook group at Sound Voices Official. And then please subscribe below to this channel so you'll be aware of the next content that we're creating and building, and share with everybody you know. And if you haven't already, check out some of the videos that we've filmed previously. Last week, I did a video on connection, and then check out some of Nina's videos as well. Her most recent ones were on learning a song and then performing with connection and passion. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and we look forward to seeing you soon.